Hello, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying your meals and hopefully digging into the yummy dessert. I would like to take this time now to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Cleve Sauer. Cleve Sauer holds a Bachelor in Arts with a major in psychology from York University, a Bachelor of Social Work from Dalhousie, and a Master's of Social Work from Memorial University. As the alter ego of Buddington, the Therapeutic Clown, Cleve established the IWK Health Center's Therapeutic Clown program in 2006 and remains the only hospital-based therapeutic clown in Atlantic Canada. Cleve's practice involves the application of creative psychosocial therapeutic approaches. These are rooted in humor, music, and play. They help children and their families cope with the stress of illness and hospital experiences. Cleve frequently addresses professionals interested in his unique skills and perspective on engaging and supporting young people. On behalf of Mount Saint Vincent University, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Cleve Sauer to the stage.
Thank you. All right. Just a minute. Where did I put my notes? Where'd they go? Huh. It's remarkable. Huh. Okay, we're going to do something again. Come on up. Yeah, come on up. Come on up. We're doing this again.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Mr. Cleve Sauer.
what could possibly go wrong? That's one thing down, many to go. Thanks so very much. Now, I know it was a wonderful dinner. We still have some folks out at the silent auction, and we're clearing up some plates. So we're going to roll with this here. I may be repeating a few things that I think are really important as we go along, but it's an absolute pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I was here last year giving a talk in the afternoon, and when Peter Mumbercat asked me to come back this year, he said, well, don't worry about it. Just do the exact same thing you did last year. There'll be very few returning students, and the faculty and leaders from the business community won't mind hearing from you again. So I said, okay, that makes sense. I'll do that. So then I looked at my talk from last year, and I thought of something to add to it. And I thought of another thing to add to it, and I doubled it. So I have to make a little disclaimer here, right here and right now. It's absolutely impossible for me to get through this talk tonight. I'm going to fail miserably. So I figure either I can fail miserably alone up here on the stage, or else we're all going to fail gloriously together. Are you in with me? All right, let's do it. Another thing I'm going to need some help with is, because there's way too much material for the night, I'm going to need a timekeeper. Do you have a clock or a cell phone with a clock on it? Okay. From time to time, if I look at you, will you let me know when I'm coming, at a certain time period? All right, thanks so much. Now, the final thing that I'm going to bring up before we start is tonight's talk will include discussions of images related to and possibly even the appearance of clowns. Thank you. So if anyone has a true blue phobia or concern with that, I won't be offended if you just sort of quietly sneak out during the talk. But I promise that maybe if anybody does have any preconceived notions, ideas, concerns regarding clowns, maybe tonight I can help to change your mind on those things. All right, so let's start. Whenever I meet somebody for the first time, the question usually comes up, well, what do you do for a living? That's it right there. For the last 10 and a half years, I've been Buddington the Therapeutic Clown at the IWK Health Center here in Halifax. For the past 10 and a half years, I've been a proud member of the Child Life team. Now, Child Lifers help kids cope with the stress of illness, of hospital experiences, and getting through their healthcare journeys. And a therapeutic clown is there to help out kids and families in whatever way they need it. What I'm going to do tonight is spend a little time talking about my work, what I do, how I do it, why I do it that way, and then I'm going to take that knowledge that I've gleaned from 10 years of seeing people in interesting, fascinating, tragic, inspiring, wonderful, giddy moments from behind a clown nose, and tell you the things that I've learned that are universal truths that I think are helpful for people no matter what profession you're in, no matter what situation you're in, essentially as a life compass. I don't know if that's a little bit grandiose, but let's give it a shot. I know you guys have had a long day. I appreciate this time right now. So when a clown shows up in a hospital at a kid's door, it goes something like this. That's me knocking at the door. Can I come in, please? And then I wait. And I watch. And I hope they say yes. What if they say no? Any ideas? I go away. I leave. Now let's think about a child in a hospital and what their general experience might be. What are the reasons people are knocking at their door? Well, maybe they need to take blood, maybe they need to physically examine them, maybe they need to change a medication dose, maybe they need to bring in 42 med students and talk over their heads. Rarely does a kid get to tell someone knocking at their door at a hospital, go away. But when a clown knocks at a kid's door in a hospital, and the child says, no, go away, the clown says, okay, thank you. And they go. Now, staff will apologize to me about that. They'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought he'd love you. Oh, he's such a fun boy. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Parents will say, oh, I'm sorry. He's not usually like this. I say, that is terrific. Thank you. That's wonderful because that child got to tell somebody to scram. They got to have power for a moment. They got to be in charge of themselves and what happens to them. And hopefully, that's the very first step towards a therapeutic relationship with that child. So I might show up the next day and ask to come in, and they might kick me out again. I might show up the day after that and be kicked out again. I might show up next week and also be kicked out again. But the day that that child invites the clown into his room, it's on his terms. Now, let's say the kid invites me into the room. Well, that's when things get fun. Quickly, the child realizes that they have a 6-foot-tall, 200-pound idiot in their room. I get caught up in the curtains. I can't work the automatic hand soap and tap system in the hospital. I make a big mess with the paper towels. Usually my feet will at some point get stuck in the garbage cans. And so the kid looks up and they go, silly clown. And they have to help me through it. I've had so many little people, this, no exaggeration, I never exaggerate, this tall, look up at me and go, silly clown, and walk over and say, don't worry, I'll help you. That's the key. So a therapeutic clown is looking for that relationship, but it's an empowering relationship. It's a relationship where the child is in charge. The child's in control. The child is dictating the terms of the relationship. And the clown's going to follow the kid no matter what the circumstance is, as long as it's respectful and safe. I have limits. And, as long as no one gets hurt or no one's mean, right? But the fascinating thing is it can be the most rambunctious, can be the most threatened child, because threatened children often will act out and exhibit behaviors. But man, they sure take good care of me. And that's the job. That's a therapeutic clown. Now, a typical day, we were talking at the table here, a typical day starts with me meeting with my child life team. Child lifers use play and developmentally appropriate language, and they have playrooms, and they have dolls to help teach children about what happens in the hospital, and it's their job to help kids through their hospital experience. And what they do is they give me referrals. They say, okay, little Susie's in this room, and I think she could really enjoy you because she has a brother and a sister, and they have a lot of energy, and they could really use a clown. And by the way, mom's not been around for a couple days, so they're really, looking for some good attention. This person needs you, this person needs you, this person needs you, and this person's having a really rough time. Can you go see those kids today? I see anywhere between 20 and 35 kids probably in the course of a day. Now that can be in patient rooms, it can be in hallways, it can be in elevators, it can be in the playrooms. We have playrooms and activity areas and a teen lounge that Sidney Crosby paid for. It's awesome. And I spend time in all of those areas, as well as clinics, outpatient clinics, and I have a pager, staff can page me, and parents often will contact the hospital ahead of time to let me know that they're on their way because there's a relationship that's developed between Buddington and the child. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about this relationship, and then I want to move on to a few things that I think apply to anybody who ever works with people, ever. Might be some of you. Okay, so like I said, a therapeutic clown meets kids in all sorts of circumstances. One thing you might notice about these pictures is there's no picture of the clown alone. I don't think a clown exists by themselves. The clown there's part of the magic that comes from a relationship, right? It's something we create together. People often ask me, well, what are the characteristics of your clown? And I say, well, officially we say he's 4 years old. It's kind of a fun gag. How old are you? 5? Well, I'm 4. It's funny. But you know what? That biographical information changes. The clown changes according to the needs of the kids in the family. So I rarely like to have a picture of Buddington by himself because I don't really think he exists without a child. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what a hallway first meeting might look like, because I think that'll apply to some messages that I want to send your way tonight. So let's just imagine that it's a Thursday afternoon. Before the clown comes to MSVU to talk to a bunch of learners and leaders. And the clown's walking down the hallway. And he sees a poorly drawn father and daughter. Anybody notice anything about the daughter? Yeah. Anybody notice anything about the father? Yeah. Poorly drawn, non-smile. So what I see is potential here. Anybody who works with people, they're always looking for potential. For me, it's how can I help? For somebody else, it might be how can I teach and help you learn? For another person, it can be, well, what can I sell you? It doesn't really matter. We're looking for potential. And what I see here is a possibility with the daughter. Not so much with the dad, right? Okay, let's not judge him. There could be a lot going on that day, right? Often families come in from far away. They're in a big hurry, getting to the hospital from who knows where, rural Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI. We have families that come from Newfoundland and Labrador. He might not have had time for breakfast, let alone his cup of coffee. It was in the middle of winter, and they had to park far away from the hospital because there were snowbanks everywhere, and he's worried about his meter running out. They got lost both to the hospital as well as inside the hospital. They're worried about getting to their third appointment, although the first 2 appointments they were early at, and they waited for an hour each time. The environment is already starting to become intimidating. It's like an alien robot land sometimes to go into certain diagnostic areas. And also the jargon, the language of the hospital can be intimidating for anybody. So this father is feeling things that... How many parents do we have here? When it comes to your kids, do you ever want to feel those things? No. Those are the worst things you would feel. The worst things. So, listen, current climate around clowns, I don't blame this guy for having some feelings like this, right? I don't blame him. So, I should just walk by, right? Could. But I think you know from the direction this talk's already taking that I see some opportunity here. What's the possible opportunity? Well, we don't know what's going to happen to this child and family. We don't know if they're going to come back to the hospital again and again and again and again for more and more tests. We don't know if blood work and other associated tests are going to become an anxiety-provoking thing for the girl. We don't know if there's like 3 siblings who, through their sister's healthcare journey, if they start to feel left out and they need somebody to pay attention to them. We don't know if there's going to be a long hospital stay, if there's going to be surgeries. We don't know any of that thing. And I see an opportunity there, so why not take it? So what do? Here's the key, right? Because consent is huge. That girl has to pick the clown. So here's what happens. My pockets are full of toys all the time. Wind-up toys, slinkies, bubbles. What I'll do is find a place, comfortable distance from the daughter and the father. Maybe sit on the floor. I sit on the floor a lot. Would it be really weird if I sat on the floor beside you right now? Let's do it, okay. All right. Okay, so here I am sitting on the floor. Why do you think I get low down? Yeah, man, these guys, huh? Yeah, best and brightest right here. And then I won't make eye contact. Just do this. Aren't those awesome? Oh. And I'll give the child a chance to move towards me if she chooses. I'll also give her the chance to decide that this isn't for her and to move away and to move on, right? Now, if the child moves towards me, I'll make a little glance at her, right? Just. It landed in the water. Look at that one. I wish all of you could see that this bubble's still here right now. Wow. Can I show you one more?
Sure.
Okay. This is a squeaky clean one. And then we start. So, little Susie and Papa poorly drawn over there might be drawn into the clown's world for a few minutes. Now, there's a lot of things going on. We know that they're on their way to an appointment. We know that time is very important to them. So I'll, at that point, look up at Dad and say, is it okay if we spend one more minute together? And if his daughter is at all interested in what's going on, he'll say yes, right? And for that moment, you hope that maybe the family can breathe out. If you ever notice people when they're in a stressful situation, they're like this, right? I do this anytime anyone's going to take a picture of me. But other people do it in stressful situations, like, there you go, right? And if you can give a family a chance to remember that they're a whole lot more than just an illness or an injury or worry, you can like literally watch them breathe out. And then I might help them find their way to the next appointment and ask them maybe when they come back. But there's some keys to this. For this moment, whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 15 minutes, a typical clown intervention can last anywhere from 2 minutes to half an hour, with a typical one being probably in, average about 15 minutes. For this moment in time, that girl is the most important thing that is happening. And she's exciting and interesting. And she has the best pink shoes you've ever seen in your life, and boy, you wish you had a Dora Explorer shirt like that. She matters. She really matters. And I don't mean make her feel like she matters. I mean she matters. Because she does. And she needs to know that you know that. Because next time she sees you, she's going to pick the clown as part of her time at the hospital. And you need to do this quickly. Like I said, time can often be of the essence. What does this have to do with anybody who's not a clown in a hospital? I thought a cute small dog could ask that question. Because you want to answer a cute small dog. Well, I wasn't sure that it had anything to do with anybody who didn't work in a hospital. But lately, over the last few years, as I've been giving talks, talking to people from a variety of circumstances, in a variety of professions, a variety of walks of life, with a variety of life goals, I've discovered that these principles, ideas, philosophies actually do translate. And so I've become grateful to be able to come to events like this to tell you some of my ideas. And listen, you've had a lot of facts today. This is all opinion and propaganda. This is my opinion. This is the way I see things from behind the nose. Take what you want, right? But you're going to take a lot of it. The first thing I want to talk about is what I talked about on this stage last year, which is the idea of service. How am I doing for time? When did I start? Okay, thanks. So we're about between 15 and 20 minutes in? Right on. Last year I talked about service, as in community service, as in giving back to your community. But as I was looking at the idea of what I do and what I think applies to other people, I think there's more to it than that. And one thing that I probably shouldn't tell you, but to heck with it, let's do it. I look at my job as this. It says extreme customer service. Now, the reason why I say that I shouldn't tell you this is because that's kind of a taboo way of looking at things in healthcare. From a public healthcare, psychosocial practitioner perspective, we want to say that we're providing care to patients and families, that we're providing services to a client, that we're giving them what they need, not what they want. Luckily for a clown, I don't see a heck of a lot of difference. That moment when you see a child and her dad, and you go, okay, what can happen right now to make this bearable, better, maybe even momentarily awesome for you? That's customer service. When I started this job 10 years ago, it was a part-time position paid for by external funding from an organization that said you have 2 years to make this work. After 2 years, the hospital said, okay, what are we going to do about this? Well, patients and families and staff wrote letters. They started a petition to say, we want to keep this position going. The reason why that happened isn't because of anything magical I did. It's because of the stance I took early on. It's like, if this is going to fly, if this is going to happen, if this is going to stay as a program in the hospital, I need to make sure that every time somebody sees that clown, it's good. It's good because the clown was respectful. It's good because they saw how much the clown cleans his toys. He's very good at following the rules. It's good because he teased the chief financial officer a little bit. And everybody got to kind of have a little chuckle. And the guy in power took it real well. And it's good because Papa Poorly-Drawn's daughter, that's all she talked about on the drive back to New Brunswick. So I think people who provide good care are also providing good customer service. And more, I'm not afraid to say that. Just don't tell anybody at the hospital I did. Roll with it. Okay, here's a story from a long, long time ago. A long, long time ago. I was 21-ish. I lived in Regina before I moved to Newfoundland, before I moved to Toronto, before I moved here. So Regina, Saskatchewan, middle of the winter. I started my clowning career working for a guy named Pat Roth. He had an organization called Pat Roth Clowns and Mimes. He was a professionally trained mime. He studied with the mime greats, although he was the most talkative guy I'd ever met in my life. I thought that was ridiculous. And he had this habit of calling me up for gigs. And it went something like this. Cleve, you there? Yeah, I'm here, Pat. Okay, listen, are you free this afternoon? It's 1 o'clock now. Are you free around 2:30? Yeah, sure, I'm not doing anything. Okay, just hold on a minute. I'm on the other line. I'll get right back to you. Okay, yep, okay. All right, good, thanks a lot. Okay, Cleve, you still there? Yeah, I'm still there. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to swing by and get you. Do you know any Elvis songs? Yeah, I guess I know some Elvis songs. Okay, good, all right, here's what we're doing. So there's this lady, her name's Gwen, and she works at the credit union, and she's turning 40. She has 4 cats, and her husband's name is Art, and he's fishing all the time, and she wishes he wouldn't fish so much, and so you're going to be an Elvis impersonator, and we're going to write a song for her to the tune of an Elvis song that incorporates all that, and I'm going to be the Colonel. What? The Colonel? Who's the Colonel? Well, if you're going to be an Elvis impersonator, Cleve, you should know who the Colonel is. He's Elvis's manager. Okay. And Pat, when are we doing this? Well, it's in an hour now. Okay. All right. So where do I meet you? I'll come and get you because we have to go to the costume shop to get you fitted for an Elvis costume. Yeah, right, I forgot. Okay. All right, so he'd come and get me. I can hang up the phone now. He'd come and get me, and I'd hop into his old van, and we'd be speeding down Albert Street in Regina, going through all the yellow lights to get to the costume shop. And I won't lie, everybody finished eating? I was slowly pooping myself. and then we get there, I get fitted in the costume, and we'd write the song on the way, and we'd deliver 20 minutes that would make Gwen, who's turning 40, feel special. It was an early lesson in rolling with it. And I got to tell you, Pat came to visit me this last, just a couple months ago, and we spent time. And I couldn't thank him enough for those early lessons in sort of, here's the key. You had to learn to get out of your own way, right? Because nobody cares if you're not prepared. Nobody cares if you're nervous. Nobody cares if you're ready for a speaking gig and then all of a sudden you can't find your notes. That stuff doesn't matter. What matters is that a lady named Gwen is turning 40 and boy, you better make her feel special. And when the guy who's paying you $80 to do it calls you up an hour and a half before the gig, you roll with it. And over time, I've taken that philosophy to the hospital, and people say, well, how can you be so cool with whatever happens? Like you thought this was going to go on, and then this disaster happened, and then this kid, this did this, and then this one hit this kid over here, and then something terrible happened over here, and then this was really weird. How are you cool with that? It's like, well, guess what? It's messy. It's awesome. Life's messy. Roll with it. Yeah. I'm not sure yet. And listen, if anybody wants to chat after the talk here, some of this is like brand new material. You guys are totally workshopping this with me. So I hope that this one makes sense. Over time, it's occurred to me that the things that I'm the worst at are some of my best assets. I'm going to tell a story, and hopefully that'll make that a little more clear. This one wasn't 20 years ago. It was probably between 12 and 15 years ago. Again, prior to hospital clowning. It was at Toronto Zoo. Anybody here ever been to Toronto Zoo? Okay, cool. All right, so we know. Okay, cool. So, for those who haven't been lucky enough to go to Toronto Zoo, there's this area when you first walk in the gates. That's a sort of an open area. There's seating. There's a gift shop. There's a place to get water. You can get maps of the zoo. You can rent strollers for your kids. So when families come in through the front entrance to the zoo, they spend some time there. I was hired as a part of a stable of performers to spend time in that open front area at Toronto Zoo. This guy in Toronto who ran a company, and the guy's name is Magic Mike. I have no idea if after the movies came out if he changed his name. I don't know. But yeah, he was Magic Mike, and he worked in Toronto for a long time, and he sort of ran this entertainment agency. And so he called me up, and he said, Cleve, I'd like you to come and work at Toronto Zoo. It's spring all the way through the summer into the early fall. It's a good, steady gig. Are you in? I was like, yeah, that's terrific. I'm all over that. So I showed up, and I quickly realized that I was most certainly, definitely the least skilled and least qualified person to be there. Toronto, because of its nice big pool of people, has a lot of people who can do a lot of cool things. There was a great magician there. He was something else. I think he'd spent like 87 years in his basement perfecting his craft, even though he was only 27. That was part of his magic. There was a juggler. Man, amazing. I don't know if you guys know this, but like juggling 3 balls is hard, but it gets so much harder each time you add another ball, right? Like, it doesn't look as impressive as it truly is. And this guy was incredible. And he juggled everything. He juggled, flames and live fish with hooks in them. I don't know, whatever. He was just incredible. And there was a singer, and she could play the most beautiful guitar. It was remarkable. And there I was, this schmuck. I play ukulele. I do a couple little basic magic tricks. I'm good at falling down. What did I have to offer? What did I have to offer? Again, I was panicking. I was up against it. Now, here's the other thing that I've realized that people with any measure of success already know, and then people who are learning about it quickly figure out, is that when you're up against it like that, that's when the real creative solutions happen, right? That's when you figure out, that's when stuff gets real. And you got to come up with something that's going to make this work, because you can't afford to lose that gig. So I thought, okay, I'm going to pay attention to the kids. So remember, this was pre-hospital, right? This was before I even had this whole philosophy of care. Before my degrees, I had no concept really of being a healthcare or a helping professional. All I knew was that to keep this gig, I better entertain these kids. So I did this thing that for me at the time was revolutionary. I did this. I said, hi, it's nice to meet you. What's your name? And I got to know the kids. And I got to know the families. And I just spent a little bit of time with them, whether it was 2 minutes, whether it was 5 minutes, whether it was 8 minutes while everybody went pee one at a time. It didn't matter. You just spent that time with them, right? Maybe you did something silly. You found out their favorite song and sang that song. It happened over the course of the summer as I perfected this technique that parents started to get angry with me. Because they'd come back from their time in the zoo, and they say, thanks a lot. The kid didn't want to see any of the animals. He just kept talking about coming back to the clown. And I realized, and I think that was like the first little light bulb when it came to the idea of taking care of people, of customer service, of using creativity. And it came out of the fact that really I wasn't, and to this day am not the most skilled clown or children's entertainer you'll see, right? And I suppose if I'd spent 87 years in my basement perfecting my techniques, I might never have learned this lesson. Now, I'm not advocating that you don't learn stuff and you don't perfect your trades. No, I'm not advocating that at all. But what I will say is that there's always going to be somebody who has more skill than you. There's always going to be somebody who brings something interesting to the table. So if you can approach your work with this creative energy, this idea of what can I do to take care of you? Well, then you get out of your own head, and that's when cool things happen. Does any of this apply to any of you at all? Or am I... All right. I'm going to keep this part of the talk then. All right, cool. All right, so that's customer service. Then I started thinking about leadership. Now, it could be argued that I'm the least qualified person in this room to talk about leadership because, frankly, I spend the majority of my time following 4-year-olds around, letting them lead me, right? But again, it's perspective, and when you're able to look at something from a certain direction, from a certain perspective, from a certain slant, you get some ideas. I'm going to share them with you right now. First of all, I think the best leaders that I've known know this, that leadership is a form of service. They don't approach leadership from the point of view of what is in it for me, how do I benefit from this? Instead, it's what matters. What matters to my people? What matters to you as an individual, and what matters to us as a collective? And how do we achieve that? Through cooperation, through trust, through creativity. That's what the clown does every day. You know that kid that I saw in the hallway and that I followed her lead? When the time comes for her to go into the MRI machine and she's staring down the barrel of this huge Star Trek, Star Wars robotic-looking thing, and I'm looking up at it with her, and I say, it's time to go in now, isn't it? You can do this. She's going to come in there, and she's going to go into that machine because I've followed her already 27 times. I've trusted her. I've followed her no matter what, and so she'll follow me. She knows that I'm there to serve her, and when it's time, she'll come with me. Okay, I'm working on this one. Hear me out here. We all have ideas about ourselves, right? We have stories about who we are. There's a full philosophy of therapy, narrative therapy that says the stories we tell essentially make up who we are, right? Who are you? Well, I'm a dad, and I live in Nova Scotia. I love it there. I'm a clown. What matters to you? Well, being good to other people, contributing matters to me, living values where I know at the end of the day I can live with myself, I can sleep at night knowing that I've made some good choices, forgiving myself when I fail, all those things matter to me. Well, I call this the smell test because every single one of us has a story about ourselves that we tell ourselves and others. And then we also have a series of actions that we do in the course of a day, a week, a month, and a year. And from time to time, the things we do won't smell right. We know that it's not in keeping with the stories we tell about ourselves, right? It's kind of interesting, really. It's like you write a script about yourself, and then you essentially don't pay attention to the script. And I know at the end of the day, if I've acted in accordance with my values, I'm doing okay. I kind of think that likely people who don't hold a strong set of values and ideals and ideas about themselves and try and live to it can still do really well, but I'm not sure they'll be well. And so I call this the smell test because I know when in my own life, when I'm acting a little contrary to how I define myself, yeah, I can smell it. It doesn't smell quite right. The other day, I guess it was the other month, 3 months ago, we were spending a day out with our kids. My wife and I have a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old. And we spent the whole day outside. It was great. We went to the Dingle Park, and we went to another park, and we had some ice cream, and then we went to another place, and it was really awesome, and it was really cool, and we were all having lots of fun. And then we got really hungry, and so we went to the Armview Diner, right? Yeah, just off the Rotary or Roundabout or whatever it's called now. You guys been to the Armview? It is awesome, ridiculously great food. And also it has the worst parking situation that you could possibly have. You come shooting off that rotary, and then you like turn into this like little back dumpster area where there's, I think, 3 spots for cars or something like that, right? Yeah, okay, some of you have been there, and okay. So work with me here. I was in the diner with a 9-year-old who's getting really whiny, and a 5-year-old who decided he's just going to start climbing all over me, right? And they're like, oh, we're hungry. And then a staff comes over, and she's like, hi there, I'm going to be your server. Listen, I've never served the dinner before. I've always done breakfast. I was like, oh, great. Okay, all right. So we were wondering if we could have this. Is there any way you can do a kid's order of that? Oh, well, I don't know. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, I'll go. Okay, I'll go check and I'll be right back. Okay, thanks. And then she goes away, and we're like, okay, all right, just keep you calm. You know, that little thing when a family is just like bubbling up like this, and we all love each other, but we hate each other right now at the same time. And it has mainly because you're hangry, right? And so she comes back, she's like, well, I can do this, but I can't do this, and I'm so sorry about it. It's like, okay, we'll figure it out. So we got our order in, and then it took ridiculously forever. Listen, I love the Armview Diner. I would write a great review of it online, but this particular day, my goodness, it took so long. And finally, we got our food. Our moods lifted a little bit. We went out back to the parking lot. Now, we had gotten there relatively early. Over the time that we were inside the restaurant, waiting for our server to get us our food, the patio had filled up with people. Now listen, I'm 41. Most of these people were in their 20s. Right away, I'm not living up to my story of myself, and I'm starting to stink a little bit here. Because I was like, oh, man, God, they're loud. Jeez, what are they doing? Okay, whatever. Let's just get out of here. I went to the back parking lot, and so my bubble bear here was our car. This is the Mazda. Was one of 3 cars parked right here, and then somebody else had been over here. Another car parked right about here. Yeah. So my wife said, listen, I'll drive. You're in no state to drive right now. And I was like, okay, thank you. I was like, but you need help, so I'll get out here and I'll help direct you, okay? And so she's like, okay, fine. So I stood out there, and I got her roll down her windows, and she's backing up, inching, and I'm like, more, farther, stop! And then we go back and forth, and it's like 20 minutes later. Okay, it was probably 3, but it felt like 20 minutes. We're doing this thing, and I'm just getting more and more angry. And finally, we got turned so that I could get in the car, and I'm like, forget this. I'm doing something about this. I took out my cell phone, and I started taking pictures of that vehicle, the license plate, everything like that. Yeah, because I have no idea what I'm going to do with that. But man, I'm going to show someone. And then this young woman walked up to me. She said, what are you doing? I was like, she said, why were you taking pictures of my car? I said, well, look how you parked. She said, is that illegal? I was like, no, that's not illegal, but look what you did. And she said, but why did you take pictures of my car? And this is when the clown took over. Thank God he did. I said, because I was angry. I was mad, and I wanted to do something. And she looked at me like, what the heck, dude? And she said, well, I'm sorry that I made you angry. And I said, I'm sorry I got angry. And she said, okay. I was like, all right then. And we just kind of backed away from each other. I got in the car and we left. And then I was like, deleting the pictures. Actually, I found one of them on my phone a couple weeks ago. I hadn't realized. I was like, oh, geez, what a jerk you were. But the funny thing was, too, as we were driving away, my wife Jill said, I think she's taking pictures of our car. I was like, whatever. Whatever. But I wasn't acting in concert with the story I tell about myself. It wasn't smelling right, and the clown rescued me. I think we all have these moments, and I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. All right. Just a minute. How are we doing for time?
40 minutes in.
40 minutes in. That's pretty good. All right, thanks. All right. Will you come to every talk I ever give?
No, I don't think
Okay. You're just way more reliable than the last timekeeper I had. Okay, if a bird poops on your shoulder, my recommendation is leave it there for a while. I'm glad you asked. Why? Here's the deal. I think we're friends now, right? I can be honest with you. I'm a really foolish person. I've been watching you guys. I think everybody's a little bit foolish, not just in this room. In fact, now I have a theory about this, and I'm not sure it's true, but maybe some of the most, esteemed, accomplished people in the room can help me back this up or not. I have this theory that is yet to be proven, but maybe we can do that, that the more established, the older, the wiser, the more important you become, the more foolish you become too, right? Because it's funny if somebody's pants accidentally fall down. It's really funny if the king's pants accidentally fall down, right? And I think that a great leader doesn't mind being foolish, doesn't mind laughing at themselves, doesn't mind when a little bit of poop lands on their shoulder, or when they step in it, or when they fall in it. In fact, maybe they might spend a little time there, looking up at the world and realizing how foolish we all are. That connection to humanity, man. People ask me how I use humor in my work. It's gentle humor that recognizes the absurdity of life and this sort of ridiculous, chaotic, wonderful, beautiful, poopy mess that we all find ourselves in every day. And a leader who recognizes that, man, I would follow that person any day. You guys want to do an experiment with me? All right. I'm working without a net here, guys. I could have just done last year's talk. It would have been a lot less anxiety-producing. But, big risks, big rewards, right? Do I have a volunteer? Oh, hey, okay. We got a lot of people. Okay. Oh, man. I think so I had somebody point at somebody else, which is legit. And then I think it was just barely, it's nice to see you, though. How's it going? Yeah, I know. You know my wife. Yeah? Moving right along.
She's a nurse at the IWC on the kids' floor where he does his act.
Oh, let's chat again afterwards, okay? Okay, awesome. Cool. I'd like to catch up. You down with this? All right, everybody give her a hand. Okay. All right, let's go up here on stage together, okay? All right. Cool. This is going to be really good. Okay, how about you stand right here?
I can do that.
All right. What's your name?
I'm Chantal.
Hi, Chantal.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too. This is Chantal, everybody. Give her a big hand. Okay, all right. This is going to be a remarkably unscientific experiment in leadership. Hypothetically, if awesome, wonderful, eager Chantal here was to ask everybody to follow her out of the room, be honest here right now. Be totally honest. How many people would follow her right now?
I'm pretty cool.
You are cool. You are cool, and you know what? That's not bad, huh? How many people actually know Chantal? No, I didn't notice. Did they put their hands up? Okay, awesome. Okay, all right. So this is an exercise in letting bird poop sit on our shoulders for a while, okay? Don't worry, no actual poop will occur in this. But this is the moment where, you cool with clowns?
Yeah, sounds cool.
You
Most
cool?
of them, not the sketchy ones.
Yeah, well, we're not that. You cool with being one for a minute?
All right, good.
Okay. I'll be right back. That's for you. It's clean. Yeah. Yeah. So just put your what you do is you take the string and you just put it over your head.
Okay.
Go like that. There you go. Yeah. Now sometimes the strings need to go above your ears just to make sure it stays, but whatever works for you, right? Oh wow, that's great. Huh? All right. Let's just take a moment and look at our people. There's this beautiful moment when you're clowning where all you have to do is just be there. Yeah. Yeah. Let's walk you over here to the podium mic. We're going to use the podium mic for a minute here. Okay. Oh, too late. My goodness. All right.
That sounds.
Yeah. So would you hold that there so it can be heard?
Okay.
All right. Don't do anything yet.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Stay right there. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. My dog has lean. Okay. Okay. Now we could practice this, but we haven't, have we?
No.
Because we don't need to practice. I think you're going to know what to do.
I've got it. I think we're on the same page. Got a little excited there. Pass the torch.
Okay, now we have to go back over here, okay?
Oh, okay. All right. We're good.
You are doing so great. All right. I'm not sure what this experimental method is, if it even is one. Is it a pre-test, post-test? I have no idea, whatever. How many people would follow Chantal now?
Come on.
Yeah, all right. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Good, yeah.
Wow. She was good at letting that poop sit for a while, wasn't she? Thanks so much. Oh, excuse me, sorry. And then the other piece, which I've already talked about, this idea that we can lead from the back of the line. We can lead from the bottom of the pile. We can lead from down looking up, right? This is 101 for anyone who's actually in a leadership position. So but it's something that I've seen time and time again. I'm amazed by the trust that children, families, and the hospital put in a clown. And the only thing that I can imagine is a reason why is because they know that I've respected them and they see the humanity in an idiot who will let the poop sit on his shoulders for a while. Okay, this is what I talked about last year. It's turned to be in this little teeny tiny part of the talk. So we had ideas about service to customers. We had ideas of service in leadership. But we all know that that's just a piece of it, right? We have these full lives with many different reasons and purposes for being, many different things that are work and home and community. And so what I talked about last year was this idea of social responsibility, right? Which I think is my least favorite term ever. I'm glad. I love it when you ask why. That's cool. Well, here's what I have to tell you about that. Is anybody going to eat these desserts later? Okay, cool. All right, we're in. All right. Okay, so if you think about the things that are responsibilities in your life, right? I don't know, getting to class, going to work, paying taxes. I got kids and pets. I have to make sure they stay alive every single day. Every day, yeah. Vehicle maintenance, shoveling snow. I never want my obituary to say, boy, he took good care of his responsibilities. So this idea of social responsibility, I don't know, it sure doesn't excite me. And I figure, well, listen, we're here, we got a chance to make something out of the poop on our shoulders and the poop on our shoes. Why not look at an opportunity to make a difference? So whether it's at your workplace, whether it's in your family, whether it's in your community, I like to think of it in terms of an opportunity to jump in and do whatever it is that excites you and wherever your talents lie and however you want to make a difference. I think a pessimist sees a glass half empty, an optimist sees it half full, but a realist sees it for what it really is, or an opportunist, I should say, because an opportunist will drink the water. A social opportunist can share the water. Now, maybe you'll choose something in research, and that'll be your social opportunity. Maybe you'll have new ideas, approaches, inventions, things that will make the world a better place. Maybe you're good at rolling up your sleeves and being on the front line. Teaching, creating, being with people, helping. Maybe it's through your school, your job, your business, your ventures, your personal life. Maybe you're going to become a teacher and you're going to inspire others. Whatever it is, you just got a chance to do something awesome. Give her. Give her. You'll figure it out. This is where things get really complicated. I know you've had a really long day. They told me you started at 3:30 in the morning, and they made you run laps even in between sessions. That's what they told me, and it's good for you. Now's the time when you should just be able to kick back, and I shouldn't be laying heavy stuff on you. But this is going to be a big, long list, and I recommend you get out your pen and your pencils and your paper, or whatever, your thing now. You can just type it in that. Bless you. Because here's the list. The Clown's Comprehensive Step-by-Step Guide for Creative Community Service. Ready? I'll wait. That's it. There's no mystery. When people, I do orientations at the hospital, and sometimes, especially when people haven't worked with pediatric populations, I'll give my talk and they'll spend some time asking me questions. They'll say, well, yeah, but I never know what to do. I'm like, huh? Don't ever worry about what to do. Just show up. Because what I do know is that you're enough. Well, I don't know what to say. Okay, then spend some time not saying anything. A great thing that I've learned to say is, wow. Spend less time worrying about what you should do or what you have to come up with or how you're going to seem helpful or clever, and just pay attention. And when we put those noses on and you stood in front of these people, all you could really do was pay attention, couldn't you? You know? You were vulnerable. You were standing there going, okay, I'm staring at a room of my peers and leaders and faculty, and all I can do is pay attention to them right now. If you show up, then the thing that you need to do will be right there in front of your nose. Knowledge between your ears is, of course, immensely important. But the knowledge in front of your nose is equally important. Don't ever spend too much time in here that you don't notice that stuff too. That's how you apply what you've learned to the real world. Mentors matter. I have this sneaking feeling that I'm getting down to the last 10 minutes or so, huh? Only 5 minutes left total? Okay. All right. I have some mentors that I just want to talk about really, really quickly. And the other possibly risky thing is I thought maybe a few questions if anybody had any. I think it'd be fun. You guys in with me? All right, cool. When I gave the talk here last year, I started to think about my own mentors and leaders, people that I look to in work and life. And there were some really obvious ones, and I just want to tell you about them. The first one is Karen Ridd. Sometime in the mid-'80s, in 1985, give or take a year, she was writing a master's thesis, and she went to Winnipeg Children's Hospital and said, listen, has anybody ever been a clown in a hospital before? And they looked at her and said, we don't think so. And then they looked in the literature and they said, well, we can't find it anywhere. She said, well, how about we give it a try? Luckily, the child life team at Winnipeg Children's Hospital said, yeah, let's give it a try. And so the first therapeutic clown in Canada, Robo, was born. She, clowning as a he, was a silent, miming, hobo clown character. And it started a wave of clowns. Well, it was a little trickle at first that turned into a wave of clowns that went across the country. We have a really proud tradition of therapeutic clowning in Canada that's a little bit different than the international model. And it came from Karen's pioneering work. Now she's a college, university instructor, a motivational speaker, and she spends a lot of time talking about social justice issues in the world. But she started clowning because she said, where can I bring my clown? Well, I want to bring it to where I see the most disempowerment happening, and I want to do it in a hospital. She's a pioneer. There's a man named Michael Christensen who founded the Big Apple Circus Clown Care Unit in New York. And Michael had a moment where his brother, Kenneth, passed away from cancer. And Michael had this moment where he said he dropped to his knees and just said out loud, what do I need to do? I'll serve. Please, somebody just show me the way. And he looked over and he saw a gift that his brother had left for him, which was an old doctor's bag. And a few weeks later, he got a phone call from one of the hospitals in the New York area saying, listen, we had this idea. Could you maybe bring some of your clowns into the hospital? One of my favorite quotes from Michael is when they started doing their work in one of the New York hospitals, a physician came up to them in the intensive care unit and said, clowns don't belong here. And he looked back and said, yeah, neither do kids. Michael's work has spawned clowns around the world. There's his character, Dr. Stubbs. This guy I just want to talk about really quickly because he's remarkable and ridiculous. Patch Adams. And he has so many great quotes. He's a remarkable guy. Patch Adams, of course, a physician, had his own mental health crises, decided to open a hospital that looked at an alternative way of healing that involved humor and love. And So many great things this man has said, and I just want us to look at him for a moment. Before I tell you one more story, we take a few questions, and then we have a good night. Just let you take a look at these. I like that one. I really like that one. We are a breathtakingly alienated people. One of my props is the world's largest underpants. I've had the president of Costa Rica in my underpants with me. Guess what? When he came to the IWK, those were those underpants right there. We marched around singing a song, underwear, underwear. Wherever you are, you're in your underwear, underwear. Okay, what do we all take from this? Well, I want to tell you one more thing. I've thrown a lot of ideas at you at the end of a long day. I'm really grateful for your attention through all of this. Don't worry about great big sweeping, remarkable, huge, epic things to change the world. Small things do it. And time's up, isn't it? Yeah, pretty much? Yeah, okay. Don't worry, I'll wrap it up real quick. Also, realize that it's okay not to know what to do. Last story I'm going to tell you, and it'll only take a minute. It was in my first year and a half of clowning at the IWK, and it was at the end of a long day, and I'm walking down the hall, and I figured there's one more room I'm going to visit. There was a teenage boy in that room, palliative care, approaching end of life. I thought, you know what, this family's been under a lot of stress. It's a large family. I should check in. I walked down the hallway, and the little brother, 8 years old, walks out, and he says, "Buddy, my brother's dying." I had no idea what to do. I froze. I'd been trained in the hospital. I'd already finished my first social work degree. I had a lot of theory behind the ears, but what was happening in front of my nose terrified me. Now remember, small things count. You don't always know what to do, and that's okay. I stood there and said, wow, oh no. He walked up to me and he hugged me and he looked up and said, "Let's play now." I was like, okay. So I snuck off. I called my wife. I said, "Don't wait up." They had a little separate room off to the side for the family to spend time in. He took me in there. We played dinky cars. We played Lego. We played video games. We played cards. We played board games. We played solid for about an hour. He beat me at every single game, even though I was trying hard. After that was done, he looked up and said, "Okay, I'm done now. Thank you." I said, "Okay." And I went and paid my respects to the family. His brother had just died. I said, "Good night." I had no idea what to do, and I still have no idea what to do whenever I'm approached with a situation like that. You roll with it. You pay attention. And you make sure that you have an attitude of service. That boy mattered, right? Not the panic in my own head. That boy mattered. You guys have been so accommodating, so kind, so attentive. I hope you got so much out of this day, and I'm immensely grateful that I got to speak with you tonight. Do I have time to see if anybody has a question or two? Yeah? It's cool. My wife, whenever I go and do these things, she's like, "Just don't make them cry." It's like, oh, no, that's not the point. That's not the point. Does anybody have anything they wonder, anything I didn't talk about? It's okay if there's no questions, but I want to give this opportunity. No? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm glad you asked it. So the question was, are there more kids? Are many children afraid, or do more kids turn you away, because they're nervous or afraid? Here's what this is the honest truth. because I've thought about this question a lot. Kids usually have this is, in the healthcare lingo, we call this a developmentally appropriate response to something new, as in they're nervous about it. You think about it, if it's somebody brand new that you don't know going, hey, how's it going? You might do a little bit of this, right? That's actually really normal, and you want to see that. That's, it shows appropriate attachment to their caregiver, that they'll go back to home base for a while to hang out with mom or dad or whoever their caregiver is for a while, and then they might explore and that sort of thing. So the short answer to your question is no. Most of them aren't afraid. Some of them are nervous at first, but remember that piece I talked about respecting the yes or the no? As soon as they figure out that they're in control, there's not much fear. The fear is mostly with adults, right? And especially lately with yahoos dressing up. Yeah. So, no. And you know what? Even in the last month or so, kids' responses to me haven't changed. One thing I ask staff to do is never to introduce me by saying, hey, have you ever met the clown? Do you like clowns? Because then the chances of them turning me away are really high. But if I show up and say, may I please come in, please? More often than not, there's no fear. Yeah, does that answer the question? Yeah, my pleasure. Anything else? Cool. Thanks so much. Have a great night. Take care. I think you need music while you say you. You think that's important?
Thank you. Thank you very much to Mr. Sawyer.
My pleasure.
Your speech was very inspirational. I think we can all attest to that. We'd also like to present you with a very small token of our appreciation from our students.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
Okay. This brings us to the announcement of our silent auction winners, which I will announce momentarily.